What would you do if your spouse confessed to infidelity after 13 years of seemingly perfect marriage? My wife, 38, and I, 38 male, have been married for 13 years and we have 3 children. Our relationship has had no significant hurdles until recently, and I loved my wife a lot. Many years ago, on our 5-year anniversary, my wife gifted me a vintage mandolin, her family heirloom, and passed down her family through generations. That was the most thoughtful gift anyone had ever given me. And I never loved my wife more than at that moment. I even learned to play the mandolin for my wife and I'm pretty good at it now. One of my favorite traditions is every year on my wife's birthday I play 2 to 3 new pieces for her. However, everything changed last week when my wife herself confessed to cheating on me when her ex had come to town one night. My wife seemed genuinely remorseful, and she had no reason to confess to me, but she did. She promised to give up drinking, give me access to everything, and a lot of other things. For that I gave her credit. But it still felt earth-shattering. My wife wanted to make this work, and I too wanted to make it work for our family because I still loved my wife. However, I had a lot of pent-up anger, and there wasn't an avenue for release. I didn't speak much to my wife for a week, and was just stewing in anger. That was until last night. I asked my brother if he could take our kids in for the night, and my brother was kind enough to do so. I then called my wife in for a serious discussion. I told her I wanted to make it work, and my wife was very grateful for that. She thanked me a lot. But I told my wife I needed to do something first. I got the mandolin and long story short, I threw it on the ground with force and broke it into pieces. The gravity of what had just happened then struck me and I regretted doing it, but I also felt a sense of relief. I no longer felt that anger and it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. My wife, however, was devastated and she cried a lot. She didn't speak to me last night, but this morning she told me she understood why I did it. But she still seems very sad about it. Was I the idiot for breaking my wife's family heirloom after she confessed to me? The foundation of every strong relationship. A healthy balance of shared resentment. Everyone's the idiot here. It sounds like you planned on smashing the mandolin. The cheating is entirely wrong. You broke something that belongs to your children. Dude, this marriage is over. Forget about trying to make it work. That's just going to drag out the misery for everyone, including the kids. You are the idiot because you didn't just punish your wife. You also punish your children. I personally find your reaction extremely childish and dumb. You gain nothing except a moment of joy, because you know it hurt her. That mandolin would have been handed down to your children and children's children. Guess it's up to you if your tantrum was worth it. Disagree. She cheated and is an idiot for that. She cheated and she deserves to be divorced. But how the heck did she know her ex was in town? Is she in constant contact with him? Did he get in touch with her first? Why did she respond? Let alone meet up with him. If she decided to meet up with him, why go for drinks when apparently she has a drinking problem given she said she'll quit drinking? Did she reach out first? If so, why in God's name does she have his phone number? How did she even know he was in town? My heart truly goes out to you, OP. But it might be best to separate. Given your delayed response to the situation, you obviously still hold resentment, and rightfully so. But for the sake of your kids, don't stay together with someone you don't love. A healthy co-parenting situation is worlds better than a toxic married situation. My parents stuck it out and it was way worse than it would have been if they'd split when I was 13. My 36 female husband, 38 male, and I decided to renovate the bathroom because there was water damage from a toilet that had been leaking. It was mostly my idea to renovate, but not just for aesthetics. Mold was growing at the bottom of the vanity, sheetrock, etc. He agreed to renovate but really had very little interest in the process. He has untreated ADHD and does not enjoy home maintenance. Not speculation, he tells me this. With that being said, it became my job to apply for loans, search for contractors, schedule the contractors to come, etc. It's a lot of mental work. I did it alone. He did agree to save money and offered to demo the bathroom himself. I was hesitant at first, because he's not usually baited to do things in the house, and also, due to his ADHD. His timeline and processing speed are very slow and oftentimes things don't get done. He promised me many times he wanted to do it. I sent screenshots of the calendar and told him the days he would start. The whole week leading up to demo day, I mentally prepared him. We've been together for 21 years. I know how he is. He'll say he forgot, or it'll seem like brand new information to him. So every day he gets a reminder. Fast forward to tonight. The night before the demo started, he sent me a message asking if he could go climbing with his friends. I said I'd prefer it if he'd just demo as we agreed. He only has 2 days off. So I said, no, sorry, you can't go. It turned into an almost hour-long argument back and forth about how the weather wouldn't be good the rest of the days and he would just do it then. But I know him. He waits until the last minute and something may go wrong. We may need to call for extra help or something. I always have a sense of urgency and he has none, and it makes my life very difficult. In addition, he has a job where he can often do his hobbies. He climbs with his work friends, goes hiking, skiing, etc. When he has days off, he goes for bike rides for hours. He's absolutely not deprived of leisure time, but I am. I've been home all summer. I'm a teacher and responsible for my kids 90% of the time. Being up with them in the morning, taking them out for activities all day and putting them to sleep. On top of that, I clean up after the kids and his messes every single day. I haven't had a day of fun the entire summer, so I feel anger and resentment constantly. Our fight ended with him telling me it made no sense to tell him he had to start on this day, and that he'd just do it the next day. I'm unreasonable and everyone else will agree with him, and not me. Also, today is Thursday. Our tile guy comes in on Monday and the entire bathroom needs to be completely gutted by the morning. Am I the idiot for telling my husband no, he can't go climbing? As soon as I read climbing, it's very obvious who the issue is. You're not the idiot. He made a commitment to this, and it was unfair and illogical for him to back out the night before. He has plans and he can tell his friends he can't make them. Climbing shouldn't be more important than a functioning bathroom in the family home. It sounds like you have a lot of built-up resentment towards your husband though. That isn't healthy for you or the relationship. Have you brought up the disparity between your downtime and his downtime? Not gonna lie. I have built up resentment for her husband after reading this post. I have a friend who was in similar circumstances regarding a bathroom that needed renovation. Her husband's refusal to pay someone to do it, as it wouldn't be up to his standards, and also his mental health or laziness prevented him from doing the work himself. It took 10 years for that bathroom to be finally completed. Tell him that he has a choice. Either he does the demo work or you will hire someone to do it in his place. You've been with him for 21 years, you know his pattern. Please reread what Albert Einstein is supposed to have said about insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, unexpecting different results. So moving forward, refuse to engage in this last-minute back and forth. Plan on him being completely unavailable and hire trained professionals for everything. After this is all done, treat yourself to a spa day for your mental health. I, 36 male, have been together with my fiancée, 38 female, for 4 years. We're planning our wedding and are just about to send out invites. However, I'm not sure I want to go through with the wedding anymore. For some backstory, my sister, 32, got pregnant at 18 and her boyfriend left. She had her baby at 19. Her daughter is now a young teen, and she's one of the smartest, most well-behaved and one of the greatest kids I've ever met. My sister had a rough time, but with the help from her grandma, she managed to get through college and land a great job. She's done so many great things, and being a young single mother never made her a bad person. My fiancé has been quite distant from my sister since she discovered this. A year into our relationship, we hung out with my sister, drinking and talking. She, from nowhere, blurted out, "So why did you keep her?" It caused an argument, but my sister and I forgave her for it, because we chalked it up to her just being intoxicated. She has always had these backhanded things to say to my sister, but my sister always assured me it didn't matter. Last Saturday she was on the phone with her friend. She was in the living room, and I was in the kitchen. I think she either talked loudly without noticing or just didn't know I could hear her. She was talking about my sister being a failure, that if she ever had a daughter that did the same, she would make sure that she was shunned, and would make sure the baby was gone. She said that it was sad that my sister was such a stupid witch and decided to ruin her life over a kid who is not even all that. She went on and on, laughing and saying hurtful things about my sister. I was disgusted with her. I talked with her about it on Monday, and she went off on me invading her privacy, saying that I had no respect for her, and that I had no right to listen to her conversation. I asked her if those were her true feelings and she said that I was even more stupid than my sister if I didn't realize that she'd always felt that way. We ended the conversation there, and she acted as if nothing had happened. Would I be an idiot if I canceled our wedding because of this? Is this even a valid reason? I love my sister and I know that she's not a failure, but hearing her talk about my family in that way hurts me. I didn't think that about her. How can I spend the rest of my life with someone who thinks that way about my own family? Run, dude. What she said to your sister and what you overheard was some borderline psycho crap. And yeah, you didn't realize it earlier because she's been hiding it. She feels secure since you're about to get married, so the mask slipped. If it really was a, "Didn't you know I always felt this way?" she wouldn't have reacted the way she did when she found out you overheard. Her reaction was for something you weren't supposed to hear. Fortunately, you did. Get out of there. Dude. What she thinks and says about your family is enough. Where this will escalate over the years if you get married should scare the heck out of you. Yeah, that's messed up. Like what? It almost makes me wonder if she had something similar happen in her past, and she's touting such extreme views because she never dealt with it properly. But regardless of her reasoning, run. Holy crap. OP. Please consider this a blessing. You found out her true colors before making her your family. Yeah, what an evil witch. She's dripping with jealousy at your sister's successful life, and you don't need her to spit venom at your sister because of her bruised ego. The 38-year-old woman can't handle that your sister managed to raise an entire child while living and enjoying it, and she'll have a fully grown child by the time she reaches your fiance's age. It is pure, unadulterated jealousy, and you can't marry someone comparing themselves to your sibling. I had a few people over and one of the easiest meals for me to make is a pot pie. To me, A pot pie is just whatever you want inside a crust. Chicken pot pie is usually leftover veggies with a thick gravy and crust. This time around, I had fresh roasted hatch chilies and some corn and chicken, onions and kale. So that's what I put inside. I used my savory pie crust with some cheddar and black pepper. When I served it, however, I guess it really made my brother-in-law Frank angry, who immediately started complaining, asking, "What the heck is this? And how is this a pot pie?" I told him it was a pot pie and explained what I said above. He tried to argue that a chicken pot pie shouldn't have anything other than chicken, gravy, peas, carrots and maybe potatoes. I said, "Well, sorry, I don't really see food in black and white. No one said they had any allergies or issues with food. So I didn't think that would be an issue." He kept on scowling and pushed around the food, but eventually left early. Am I the idiot? In my family, we never really kept recipes as hyper-specific. We cook and eat what we have. I guess I figured most families were the same, and that it's just people on the internet who make a big deal out of recipes, not the idiot. So, while I can see why Frank may have expected a certain kind of pot pie and was perhaps disappointed to not get it, it doesn't excuse his rude, ungrateful behavior towards someone who cooked for him. But who puts kale in a pot pie? I'd be leaving hungry too. I wouldn't make a fuss or yell at OP. But don't be surprised if you see some vegetables left on my plate as I pick and choose what parts of this chicken pot pie to eat. Everyone's the idiot here. Frank is definitely an idiot for the way he reacted. But you pulled a bait and switch. You can say all you want that pot pie is whatever you want in a crust. But that's like saying shepherd's pie isn't a pie a shepherd makes. Chicken pot pie is the name of a specific dish. When you tell people that you're making a chicken pot pie, they expect something recognizable as that dish. What you've described does not qualify. The fact that it shares one or two ingredients doesn't change that any more than it changes a mutton and potatoes pie into potatoes pie into a shepherd's pie. The issue has nothing to do with the definition of chicken pot pie. The issue is that you invited someone to your home, prepared and served him a meal, and he said, "What the heck is this?" This is unacceptably rude guest behavior, making him a big-time idiot. My teen female parents are divorced. I was a toddler when their marriage ended. They still share custody of 5050 of me. For as long as I can remember, Mom has always blamed Dad for it and said he cheated. My dad never said anything. He refuses to badmouth Mom, but I know he really dislikes her. My grandma, Dad's mom, told me Mom was the one who cheated. She's the one who even got pregnant with someone else's child and had an abortion to try and conceal it. The dad had asked her directly and suddenly she was no longer pregnant. This was after me. I can't know the truth, obviously, but I lean more in favor of my dad. The reason? My mom remarried when I was a kindergartner and she's tried so many times to push Dad out and get her new husband in. She's lied to the kid she has with her husband and told them he's her dad. And when I go for a week it's to some uncle, and I mistakenly think he's my dad. So I have half siblings who'll refer to my mom's husband as our dad and they'll step in to correct me when I call him by his first name. I usually end up correcting them and we go around and around. I dislike my mom's husband. I think he really wants me to accept him and let him take over from Dad. But he never stops to listen when I say I love my dad, and it upsets me when they talk crap about him. He always tells me I should have him instead of Dad at Father's Day activities. This was worse when I was younger, and that stuff was more there. He'd always try to get me to go to father-daughter dances with them, including purity ones, and he'd get angry when I'd say no. He'd tell me he put so much work into me, and I should return the effort. My dad tried to get custody from the judge at my request. We were in court literally weeks ago, but the judge said I needed to continue 5050 until I'm 18, and if either parent attempts to prevent that, then the other will get full custody of me. So I'm stuck here with my half-siblings. The older they get, the more annoying they are about correcting me, and then I correct them too. I told them the other day that their dad isn't my dad and I don't even like their dad or love their dad. My mom heard and she told me I needed to stop correcting them. They just love me so much they want me to be their full sister, and I'm being a bully to them, correcting them all the time. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. But you might make your life easier if you stop correcting them. As I get it, you're switching where you are at weekly, so you can just get through the week with your mom and look forward to the week with your dad. You should probably continue to refuse to call her husband dad, or interact with him in such a way though. Otherwise things might worsen. 2 years are not that long, and you can stop having contact with them once you're 18 and go live with your dad. I find it a bit odd that the dad's never given his side of what happened. I get not bad-mouthing your ex-wife to your kids, but not putting his side or version forward at all. You are an idiot. I'm a stepfather. The man who is helping to put a roof over your head is trying to develop a relationship with you. He doesn't want to replace your real dad. He knows that's impossible. But the more love and understanding, the better. So be thankful you're loved. Stop being annoyed. What happens when a long-standing family rule is broken without warning? My wife and I agreed before we got married on many big things: where we would live, how we would deal with our families, how we would raise our kids, stuff like that. Deal breakers. One of our decisions was that if our kids were full-time students, they would not have to contribute monetarily to the household budget. Obviously, they would still have chores and such. If they weren't full-time students, they would get a 6-month grace period, after which they had to pay rent and buy food. Rent would be equal to 1/4 of full-time minimum wage work. We agreed on this in 1998. Our eldest didn't want to go to university and used the 6 months after graduation to work, save money and plan a trip around the world. When he returned, he started an apprenticeship and is now a welder. Our middle kid went to university and is now a nurse. Our youngest did 1 semester of college and decided it wasn't for him. He also decided that he didn't want to work. After 6 months, I told him he was responsible for his rent and food budget. He went crying to his mom saying that he couldn't afford it. She said he didn't have to pay. She didn't discuss it with me first. It was a unilateral decision on her part. She pays all our bills. I give her a set amount every month to pay for everything. The money she earns, she either spends however she wants, or it goes into our vacation fund. So I decided to cut my contribution to our budget by the cost of rent and 1/3 of our grocery bill. She asked me why I did that, and I said we had an agreement that she chose to ignore. So I did the same. She's been paying the difference out of the money that would typically go into our vacation account, and she cut back on her personal spending. But she's angry that I'm doing this. She says I'm an idiot for being financially manipulative. She needs to either accept it or get her poor baby to grow up. She tried getting our older kids on her side, but they agreed with me. Am I the idiot for cutting the amount I contribute to our budget after my wife refused to stick to our agreement regarding our kids and making her put in the difference out her earnings? Not the idiot. The other two got tough love. Why does the baby get away with it? Favoritism sucks. This is going to harm your youngest son. Sounds like he needs a push to get started on something. Not working at all with 0 bills is going to cause him to stagnate and honestly probably end up depressed. That was not tough love. It was a sweet deal. I got the same. After finishing high school, my mom told me, university or a job, which one do you prefer? She promised that I'd not need to work while studying. Mom and dad would pay for school, and I could live at home and spend money that I'd managed to pay for bus fare among other things. Of course I applied to a university, got a C degree, and now I pay the bills. It's a familiar dynamic for the youngest of 3 siblings to be babied in the family. What does your wife plan to do about your youngest son? Does she want if she dies? Both of you reacted over the top here. It would help if you had a long talk about this with your wife, and what she's planning to do, because the child can't just stay at home doing nothing. This isn't helpful in any way. Try to talk it out. Talk to your son as well about what his plans are. Also, are there any mental health issues why your son can't work at the moment? Everyone's the idiot here, because I think this isn't essentially about the money. It's about raising your kids to be functional adults, and it seems like neither of you is focusing on that in your turf war. No, she shouldn't have unilaterally changed her agreement, but that doesn't mean withholding funds is okay either, especially since it appears you didn't discuss that at all before punishing her. It's also not okay to utilize your other kids in this fight. My wife and I have always only had 1 car until recently. We have a toddler, so she's been mostly a stay-at-home parent to save on childcare costs until preschool, just working a couple of times a week here and there for spending money. She brings in around $1,000 a month doing this. I cover all the bills, and I've gotten a few raises and promotions over the past couple of years, but not enough to handle 2 car payments. My wife has been wanting a car to get around while I'm at work, shopping, organizing events for our kids during the day, etc. I did the math and told her we could only get a second car if she helped pay for some of it. Otherwise, I couldn't afford to pay for it on my own. We were already leasing a newer SUV that she loved at the time. I didn't really care for it, so we agreed that she cover a $400 monthly payment, and I'd cover insurance, gas, maintenance, etc. She was fine with the plan and agreed. I spent some weeks looking around, then went and bought a car I liked. Now we have 2 vehicles. I didn't have to pay for the first 60 days on the new car, so let my wife save up money, while I continued paying for the SUV payments. 60 days later, my wife tells me she only has $300 of the $400, and is upset that I expect her to pay for the Cartus and Verida. I just have her send the $300, cover the difference, and remind her that I can't afford 2 cars, so it's important she budgets the money she earns properly. Keep in mind that she has no bills aside from a credit card. The next week she ran over something in the road and destroyed one of the tires, so I kept up my end and got the tire replaced and another tire patch for a couple $100. Next month rolls by, and it comes time for the next payment. I remind my wife the payment is coming due, and she simply responds, "I'm not paying it." At this point it's become pretty clear that she had no intent to pay after she paid the $300 from the previous month, continuing to express that she shouldn't have to pay. I started talking to her about accountability, which she absolutely hated, and told her I'd have to take the car away because she didn't fulfill her end of the agreement, which she didn't dispute. When I got home I cleaned the sub and took it to a safe location away from the house. When I got back home my wife was livid. We're now back to one vehicle, which she has full access to when I'm not at work. She hasn't spoken to me since I took the car away, about a week, and refuses to drive the car we have. She's called Ubers or her friends and family to take her places. It really just seems like a big accountability problem to me, but I spoke with a couple of family members about it. And one believes I'm justified while the other believes I'm dead wrong. And so I asked the people, am I the idiot? Offload both cars, get two you can comfortably afford. Cars don't have to be new. Get something times two reliable for you both to drive. I don't necessarily think you're the idiot. But the two of you need to sit down and have an adult conversation about finances. If she's at home with a kiddo all day, having transportation in case of emergency and for her mental health can be important. Plus, two older cars means less insurance and registration costs. Easy decision. Not the idiot. Why are people always saying stuff like, have an adult conversation? Like that will magically fix a situation when dealing with an irrational person. It sounds like OP has been rational. He wanted his wife to have a car and worked out an agreement with her to make that happen. She agreed to his proposal. She immediately betrayed the agreement by paying less than she promised. He accepted the lower payment with the belief that she would get on track the next month. This makes sense to me because I would believe my wife intended to keep her word. She then lets him know that she has no intention of paying her portion of the car. This is insane. I assume she expected him to magically find the money. He didn't. What he did do was resolve to sell the car, take her off the insurance and move the car so she wouldn't drive it. It sounds petty, but it's significantly less severe than lying about making payments for a car you want, and leaving your partner screwed. My then boyfriend, now ex-Matt 31 male and I 31 female split up about 6 or 7 months ago. We were together for 6 years and up until the 5th year I thought we were very happy. Sure we had our problems. I'm not so good at cleaning and he wanted me to do more in the household. We did some things together and I cooked but most stuff was done by him. I worked more than him and not from home. I wanted to spend more time together. We never went to bed at the same time and except for watching a movie during dinner. Only his picks. I never got to pick a movie. Only on my birthday. He would be gaming all the time and I would just do my own thing. But other than that I thought we were good until one day before my birthday. I came home from my friend's house and he sat me down and told me he wanted an open relationship. He loved me but he thought that there was someone out there that he could love more, and that person could make him happier than me. This was because he felt something was missing and he's been feeling like this for 3 months now. We talked about getting engaged in these months. He talked about this with his best friend, Emily, childhood friend. Now I've always had the feeling he kind of had a crush on her but mostly she just wanted to split us up. Everybody who knows her doesn't like her and says she does everything for drama and didn't want to share her friends. So when I heard, she kept telling him all the amazing things about an open relationship, and he complained about me to her for 3 months. I wasn't allowed to read any of it. I was already in therapy, because I wasn't doing well and this just broke me. I kept begging him to stay with me. Stupid I know. That if he does love me then what is the problem? But I would not go for an open relationship. We talked the whole month. One of my worst birthdays, I couldn't stop crying, and decided to work on the relationship by figuring out what it was he missed, and see if it was something we could work on or not. So I found relationship exercises. 3 months went by, and it did not get better. I broke even more by hearing almost daily how I was not enough. How he wanted an open relationship, and how he thought there was someone better. It turned out he didn't do any of the exercises. When I'd had enough and was too broken to go on, I told him I was close to breaking up with him, and he said, "You would never break up with me, you love me too much." I said, "Okay, fine. Let's just have an open relationship for 3 months. We can both figure out what's missing, and if someone would make us happier." We made rules and after the 3 months we would close it, and see if we would stay together or not. I felt so unlovable. But within a day I had my first date, and it turned out a lot of guys liked me. I went out with some, and they treated me so nicely. I felt beautiful again and I liked to dress up and go places. He couldn't get a single date. So he got mad at me and started telling me the only reason I got dates was because I was a woman and that's it. While all this was happening, my best friend James, 32 male, went through the same thing with his girlfriend. She wanted an open relationship, and told him she was better than him. We really helped each other during all these months, and, maybe out of anger to our partners, decided at one point to become friends with benefits. But we fell in love. The love I had never felt. I found what Matt said he was looking for. James is so nice and sweet. Tells me every day that he loves me and can't believe he's with me. I broke up with Matt when I found out I loved James. If I can love someone else, I didn't love the first guy anymore. I didn't tell him about my love for James, why I put salt in the wound, but told him all the things we talked about, and the fact that after 2 months he got a date, and broke all our rules was just the last straw. 6 months later, James and I are moving in together, so I asked Matt to come pick up his last things. He started crying when he was here, and told me I was a terrible person, and that I'd moved on so fast after 6 years. I made him feel he didn't mean anything to me and how could I do this to him. He talked about this for 2 hours. He didn't let me speak and then begged me to take him back. He knows how to make me doubt myself and feel like a terrible person, which I do. I feel absolutely terrible for moving on so fast. I know I hurt him deeply by it. So am I the idiot for moving on so fast and basically finding what my ex-boyfriend was looking for in an open relationship? A man who can't let you pick movies only on your birthday. What the heck? This sounds like a bad relationship already. Glad you moved on. So be proud of yourself. You got out of an emotionally abusive relationship, rebuilt your self-esteem, found a partner who sounds like he's actually good for you, and dumped the manipulative idiot. Looks like he found out the hard way that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Especially when it's drenched in alcohol and open relationships. You go, girl. For finding real love and not settling for someone who clearly didn't appreciate you. Exactly. Matt was just trying to make you feel bad about leaving him when he was the one treating you like dirt the whole time. You did nothing wrong. You didn't move on quickly because you'd already grieved for the relationship since it had been so long since he treated you well. It was over long ago, but you hadn't broken up yet, that's all. Don't for 1 second feel guilty. That's just Matt trying to make you feel bad for choosing someone who actually loves you. I, 18 female, and my brother, nearly adult, have an aunt, 50s Ruby, well known in my family for being troublesome. My brother Jay had a girlfriend of 2 years who has recently broken up with him. I don't know why and didn't ask since it's really not my business. I've supported him post-breakup and provided support and advice and everything in between. My parents and I have all seen how sad this breakup made him, and we've all supported him. A week ago we found out that this girl was dating a boy 2 years older than her. My aunt's ex-husband divorced her a year ago because of personal issues. He started dating a younger woman in his 20s whom he met after they divorced. Contrary to what you might be thinking right now, he didn't divorce her just because of this woman. He divorced her because she was being a witch to him, and he happened to find someone else after. We were having dinner together and Aunt Ruby asked my brother Jay how his girlfriend was. Jay awkwardly said they broke up, and that she was dating an older guy. Aunt started laughing hysterically. She started going on a rant about how she knew that girl was too good for him. My poor brother was just awkwardly sitting there, and no one even tried to defend him. I was trying to tell her to stop. Then Aunt said, "No wonder she wanted to break up with you because older guys love young girls." I snorted. I said that's actually so true. I don't think it's 100% true. I was being sarcastic, but I said it to support what I would say next. I said her husband left her for a younger girl, so that is true. I told her she shouldn't be talking. My aunt got so embarrassed and stayed silent for the whole dinner. My brother laughed, but my parents didn't say a word, which is weird since I expected them to reprimand me. Looking back on it, I honestly think they agreed with me. I didn't yell or scream or anything like that. I said this comment in the most normal, maybe sarcastic voice, but I'm regretting it, because I feel rude. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your aunt was laughing at what happened to your brother. Good on you for telling her to stop, and then giving her a taste of her own medicine. Your parents should have stepped up, but you did. I hope that in the future you both can avoid any more dinners with this nasty woman. She 100% had it coming. That you feel it was rude shows that you have manners, but she absolutely had it coming. She was rude and bullying. She knew that girl was too good for him. What kind of person says that to their nephew? A complete and total idiot, that's who. You are an excellent sister for knocking her out when she was punching down on your brother. Sounds like your aunt enjoys taking pleasure in others' pain. She needed to be knocked down a peg or two. Next time she'll think before she speaks. Although I doubt it. Blah blah blah. 2 wrongs don't make a right and all. Yes, you are the idiot. You're not even an adult legally, and you are beyond disrespectful. You are a teen, not a full-grown adult with families. I hope you got sent to your room like the child you are. And what the heck is this family dynamic? Sinking to someone's level puts you all underwater. My ex-wife thought I owned our apartment, but after the divorce, I had to reveal it was a rental. Now she's furious and calling me a liar. Back in 2008, when I started university, I rented a 2-bedroom apartment with my first ex-girlfriend at the time and my friend and his girlfriend. We got a great deal for it, as the owner of the place lost her job because of everything that happened back then, and decided to try her luck abroad where she still lives. Years went by, and after university my friend and his girlfriend decided to find a place of their own. As we had full-time jobs, renting this apartment together did not seem expensive anymore, and it also didn't seem costly to rent alone after we broke up some time later. So there I was, alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in the central part of the city. The owner decided she was too lazy to mess with bills and stuff every month and made arrangements for me to pay everything directly. As I earned her trust, I still pay her monthly rent, which is very cheap for today, and deal with everything else having her authorization. Because of the perfect location, my second bedroom was basically free BB for my friends who didn't live in the city, and I didn't mind. It's good to have company if you live alone. In 2020, I met a girl who was in a rush to get married, and as I was madly in love we did in 2021. For some reason I never told her how I rented the place or that it was a rental at all. It just never came up. I've been so used to being an authorized representative with building cooperative things etc. that I refer to it as my place. Our relationship started to cool down and we discovered that we weren't perfect for each other. So divorce was. So we did the paperwork for divorce and she's moving out. A few days ago, I received an email from her with a real estate valuation document as an attachment. While I was not at home, she wasted your $500 for someone to evaluate an apartment that doesn't belong to us and wrote that I probably have to take a loan to pay her the 50% of that. I told her, didn't I ever tell her this place is a rental? Why does she even assume I can afford a 2-bedroom apartment in the city center? She knows where I work and how much I earn. She called and screamed at me that I'd lied to her for years and hid the fact that the apartment was rental. Then she told me she would take the car as we got that together. And I was quiet for a moment, and then told her, you know that's a lease, right? The owner of the car is the bank. Then she demanded that I pay for the valuation and I replied, I didn't ask you to do it. She called me an idiot and ended the call. Of course she told our whole friend group how I lied to her during the whole marriage. There was a discussion in a messenger group with friends about whether it was a lie or not, whether it was a lie or not. Whether it was an idiot thing to do. Some agreed with me and some with her. So, am I the idiot for not telling my ex-wife that we lived in a rental apartment? Edit, we live in Finland. She did cover about 50% of the utility bills, as she wanted to contribute and it was no secret that I'd been living there for a very long time. I just never spelt it out that this is a rental. I think she assumed I owned it because we did some maintenance there together that you normally don't do in a rental. Changed the wallpaper in the living room, and got a few appliances when the old ones broke down. Wait. So she didn't contribute to the rent or supposed mortgage. She effectively stayed for free and only paid half of the utilities. I guess that's fine for a premarital property for which you alone are on the deed. But the audacity to expect half? It sounds like she already profited off the apartment. I really enjoy it when greedy people get nothing. Not the idiot, and thanks for sharing. I wonder why she was in such a rush to get married. Was her plan all along to get married, and then take you for half of everything after a couple of years? Also getting the evaluation behind your back. Although I guess a real gold digger would have done that earlier. So then she would know what they were getting. OP, I'm sorry, this is technically not funny. But I laughed so much when she tried to get half of the apartment, failed, then tried to get the car and you just dropped. That's a rental. She tried so hard, poor thing. Still I am in awe at how little OP thinks before he acts. He got married to someone he only knew for a year. Even the way he organized his thoughts here seemed kind of carefree and laid back. I ended up in a 2-bedroom apartment alone. There was a girl she wanted to get married. So we got married. We weren't perfect for each other. So we got a divorce. Whoops, I didn't tell her it was a rental. How did that happen? Anyway, she's angry. She brought it to a chat with our friends. What do you guys think? Bro, you're so lucky. It genuinely sounds like she was trying to rob you of half your crap. I, 29 female, gave birth to my daughter, Sloan, a few months ago. My husband, 30 male. And I didn't announce her name until she was born. The reason for this is that I knew my family didn't like the name Sloan and would spend their time trying to talk us out of the name. I know this because I started loving the name Sloan when I was a kid. There was a girl in my class from 1st to 3rd grade and I told my family at the time I thought her name was really cool. They told me it wasn't and my parents said it wasn't even a real name. I brought it up a few times. But I remember the negativity. I even remember my mom pitying her because of it. When I was 14, she even brought her up and told me she bet Sloan was going by her middle name or a nickname by then. She moved schools after 3rd grade, so I didn't see her. When I was 16, one of my friends transferred schools after a move. She mentioned that Sloan was in her class and still used Sloan. I rubbed it into my mom's face so hard. But she told me it was still an ugly name, and she felt bad for the girl who had to have it as her name. My parents prefer names like Anna, James, Elizabeth, William, and Hannah, which are my siblings and my names. They think those are sophisticated, classic, and easy to use throughout life. They don't think Sloan's a kid's name, just not a real name and so ugly. I was lucky that my husband loved the name, and when we talked baby names, he said we could name our daughter Sloan. He also knew how my family felt, so he was on board with keeping the name for us until our daughter was here. You might think that the name being official and on the birth certificate would deter any negativity about the name. But since my daughter's name was announced, my family has wanted to sit and discuss the name. They said they never believed I would seriously carry on and name my daughter Sloan. I shut them down and told them I did and that was that. I have refused to discuss it more. I ignore them via text if I have to or end calls. I left my sister's house just a week ago because they were trying to bring it up. They told me it was childish to run away from a serious discussion. I said we have nothing to discuss. My husband and I had a discussion on the name and that was the only thing that needed to happen. They told me that a part of being a family is hearing each other out, and that I'm being childish by refusing their requests. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your family's argument about hearing each other out doesn't apply in this case because their concerns about the name aren't about your child's well-being but rather their personal tastes. You've already made it clear that the name is non-negotiable and they should respect that. Standing firm isn't childish. It's about maintaining autonomy over an important aspect of your life. I mean, you can name your kid whatever you want, but your parents had a point. It's not a kid's name, and it definitely makes me give you a side eye. In the UK, Sloan is short for Sloan Ranger, which is a slang term for an oblivious posh person. I guess it would sound similar to naming your child Preppy, so you're not the idiot in this specific question. But you are absolutely an idiot to your daughter for naming her that. It's the same as Rackley or Sunshine. Just ridiculous. Are you sure you're not related to OP's Wackado family? How can you even compare Sloan to a tragedy? It's a legit name and can be a kid's name like Anna, Elizabeth or Lily. OP Sloan is a cool name. It's uncommon for a girl and distinctive. Hey, you always remembered that girl from school, didn't you? Congratulations. Don't let your family bully you. I had my parents over for dinner this weekend, 60s, and after my daughter Tween asked if she could play us a song she'd been practicing on her keyboard. She gets lessons. It wasn't perfect with a few missed notes and a couple pauses, but she did really well. She ended up at the end with a massive smile and I started clapping, and my parents started freaking laughing. Not just a little chuckle. A massive freaking belly laugh. Them both. My mom asked if it was her first time playing it, and my dad said it had to have been. A dog could have played that better. It was like my daughter was shrinking on the spot, and she looked down and said, "No, I've had 2 lessons, but doing it with 2 hands is hard." And they just laughed even freaking harder. I just stood up, took their cups and said, "Leave." Now my mom tried to say about how they hadn't finished their drinks. They wanted to hear another song, etc. I said, "Get your stuff and get the heck out of my right now." My dad started doing this huffing thing he does when someone dares to speak up to him, and my mom said, "There was no need to be like this, but I can't protect her all the time and she's preparing my daughter for the real world." I said, "It's not teaching the real world. They're just nasty little bullies picking on children, and crap like this is why I was so messed up as a kid. Now, leave." They got their stuff and left. I sat with my daughter and explained how proud I was of her, and how well she was doing. To ignore them. They were just being cruel because they didn't know any other way to be. They asked if she could please play it again, which she did. On Sunday I messaged and said that we're taking a break away from them until they can behave like decent human beings. My dad replied that it was my choice, but he didn't realize he raised me to be so precious. Now, my lovely golden child of a sister is getting involved. She phoned me today with my parents' version of events, telling me I was a nasty piece of work and should never speak to my parents that way, that I'm wrapping my child in cotton wool and blah blah blah. I just told her to go screw herself and hung up. I'm not asking if I'm in the wrong for standing up for my daughter, I'll always do that, but I did go pretty 0 to 100. I kicked them out straight away. I swore at them and in front of my daughter. I did raise my voice at the end when I said leave. I was, and still am, angry. I don't think I'd even accept an apology from them at this point. This behavior isn't new. It's decades old. But this is the first time it affected my daughter. Did I go too far? React too much? Should I have tried to be calmer? Talk it out? I don't know. Am I the idiot for kicking my parents out? Who laughs in a young child's face when they're just starting to learn a new skill? Their actions were out of line and uncalled for. Not the idiot. You stood up for your daughter, protecting her from cruel, unnecessary comments. Your reaction was strong. But it's understandable, given your parents' long history of hurtful behavior. You're breaking the cycle and prioritizing your daughter's well-being. There's no need to tolerate that kind of treatment, especially when it impacts your child. Absolutely. I still remember getting a makeup set of 5 or 6. I went to town. Big spots of pink blush, blue eyeshadow, and red lipstick. Colored wax, basically. I wanted my makeup to be as pretty as my mom's. My parents laughed and asked if I was trying to be a clown. In their case, it wasn't intended to be malicious, and they apologized. But I didn't really like playing with the makeup anymore because I tried so hard, thought I looked beautiful, and got laughed at instead. I'm now almost 40 and still don't really like makeup. Thank you for being a safe haven for your child and showing them what love and acceptance look like. I've never understood the logic. The world is a mean enough place as it is. Why should our loved ones make it worse when they could make it better? My parents have made me the butt of jokes for more than 50 years. The only one who ever stood up for me was my late husband, and it made me feel so safe with him. Protect your baby girl. She's only this age once. I know 3 people who never need to darken your door again. They won't change. Don't let them come crawling back. You are just being the mama bear your daughter needs. Update. I'm a single dad. Also, thank you for all your comments. It definitely calmed the anger I felt and made me feel less bad about the way I reacted. I never doubted I was in the right to stand up for my daughter. That's just how I went about it. I will talk with my daughter about it all tomorrow, after school or on the weekend. My parents and sister can just disappear for all I care right now. To all the commenters who said they wish they had someone like me when they were younger, I get it, man. I really do. I hope you have someone now or can be that someone. Reading all these comments definitely changed my anger into sadness and realization that I'm not alone with the bad parents. Thanks for sharing. I, 28 male, had the most bizarre moment of my life yesterday. I married Tina, 29 female, last year. One time Tina and I were at home in the middle of the day. She realized she'd forgotten to put on deodorant in the morning, and that she'd been apologetic to me. I told her I liked her smell and I asked if she could sometimes skip deodorant when she was at home. She smiled and agreed. I work and Tina stays home. Last Sunday Tina and I were at home and her mother Victoria, 52 female, came over for a planned visit. Tina didn't realize she wasn't wearing deodorant until she hugged her mom. Victoria asked Tina why she was so stinky and to my embarrassment, Tina told her the truth. Tina and Victoria have a type of relationship in which they talk openly about things. Tina immediately said, "Oops, she shouldn't have said that," after telling her mom. Her mom didn't seem fazed by it, so I thought it was just a passing embarrassing moment. Yesterday Victoria made an unannounced visit to my work during my lunch break. We talked in my office. Victoria said she was so disappointed in me and that I was not the man she thought I was. She said I degraded and objectified her daughter. She said I treated my wife like an animal. She said that I was definitely a misogynist. I just stood there and took it. I was so surprised I couldn't speak. I was just dazed for the rest of the day. Victoria and I always had a good relationship, and I was just floored that she could think that of me. Am I the idiot for degrading my wife by asking her not to wear deodorant at home? Not the idiot. I don't see how asking your wife not to cover up her natural scent is any different from asking that she wear a particular perfume. Honestly, your mother-in-law was out of line socially by mentioning how your wife smells in such a negative way. She was the one being degrading, not you. Mother-in-law is a genuine witch. She essentially infantilized Tina as if she couldn't make her own decisions. I think the real issue here is why your mother-in-law is showing up to your workplace unannounced. Now that's what I call degrading and inappropriate. You should talk with her about boundaries and privacy. Victoria needs to mind her own business. She needs to keep her nose out of it, as you are not being mean to your wife. Talk with your wife about what was said and that she might want to keep certain things between the two of you. Update. It turns out I didn't have to do anything. Victoria had talked to Tina and Tina's father, Warren, 54 male, about Victoria's concerns at Victoria's and Warren's home. Tina stood up for herself. Obviously, since I wasn't there with the three of them, there's going to be a lot of second-hand information from Tina. Victoria had told Tina and Warren all about what she told me. Tina had allowed Victoria to monologue everything she wanted to say. Tina told Victoria she wanted to not wear deodorant at home for her own pleasure too. Tina said I'm not a misogynist, and she wasn't being degraded. Warren was annoyed with his wife for meddling in Tina's marriage. Victoria stormed out. Tina had apologized to me for telling her mom about that no deodorant thing. I apologized to Tina for not telling her what her mom said to me. Tina said she thought her mom had changed from how she used to be before, which is why she'd been open with her about our private life. Tina said growing up she was, and still is, a very sweaty person with a high body odor. Apparently Victoria is a germophobe and a neat freak who is obsessed with hygiene and femininity. Tina said she used to feel disgusting about her body because of all the pressure her mom had put on her. Tina said she liked that she didn't have to be something she's not with me. Tina said that if anyone in this situation is a degrader, it's her mom. Tina said her mom is obsessed with a certain beauty standard. Tina reassured me that she doesn't feel degraded or objectified. She said our relationship is perfect, and that she's happy. She said she loved me and I told her that I love her too.